We gained independence on 15th August 1947. What was the state of Indian economy on the eve of independence? This video tries to explain that. It is the first chapter in textbook of class 11 Indian Economic Development. The main subunits under which we will try to know about it is the following. What was the level of economic development in India under the colonial rule? How was the agricultural sector? How was the industrial sector? What existed at that time in terms of foreign trade? What was the condition of demography? What was the basic occupational structure? How was the infrastructural facilities? Starting with the first one, low level of economic development under the colonial rule. When India was under the colonial rule, the economic policy that was followed favored Britain, that is their hometown. Indian economy was reduced to play the role of merely a supplier of raw materials and consumer of finished industrial products from Britain. The gross domestic product during the first half of 1900s was less than 2%. The per capita output growth, the productive output per person of the country was too less at 0.5%. Agricultural sector. Around 85% of people at that time was either farmers or did activities related to farming and other allied agricultural activities. As majority of them were in agricultural sector, it could be said that India was an agrarian economy at that time. Growth had come to a standstill at that time. It was stagnant due to certain reasons. First one, zamindari system. It was a land revenue system, an income source to the Britishers. In this system, the cultivators did not had any ownership of the land. The zamindars were considered as the permanent owners of the land. They collected rents from the cultivators. The rent was the revenue. Among the 100% of it, the zamindars had to pay to Britishers 89%. And 11% they could keep it for themselves. This system was introduced by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. This system made life of the cultivators miserable, due to which they were not much interested in carrying on the work. Apart from this system, low levels of technology, lack of irrigation facilities, and negligible use of fertilizers were also reasons for the stagnation. Cash crops did had higher yield, but the transfer of benefit to the cultivator was not there. They were purchased at lower prices and were used by British industries to produce finished goods. There was no investment in terracing. It is done so that the fertile soil won't be eroded due to heavy flowing waters of rain. There was not any flood control and drainage. Desalination of soil wasn't done. If it would have been done, it would improve conditions of plant growth and fresh water availability would have been there. Moving on to industrial sector. India was famous for its handicraft industries. They produced handmade goods. But during the colonial time, it declined, which induced unemployment. There was no development of modern industry as well. As mentioned earlier, India was supposed to be the exporter of raw material needed in the modern industries of the British, and the market to the finished products of those modern industries was to be India. Indian market was deprived of the supply of locally made goods. Imported goods from Britain was largely available. It was after 1850 a few modern industries came up in India, such as cotton textiles in Maharashtra and Gujarat, jute mills in Bengal. The Tata Iron and Steel Company was incorporated in 1907. Few other industries such as sugar, cement, paper came up in India after 1945. Anyways, the contribution to the GDP of these industries were low. There were no development of capital goods industry. We know that for the production of consumer goods, capital goods are required, and there were not any industries in India to produce that, and it had to be imported from the Britain. Foreign trade was adversely affected due to restrictive policies of commodity production. The Britishers dictated what has to be produced in Indian economy. They mainly wanted the Indians to produce the cash crops. India became an exporter of primary products such as raw silk, cotton, wool, sugar, indigo, jute, etc., which they wanted to use in their industries in Britain to make finished products, which was further sent to India, which was imported over here and sold. India at that time had become importer of finished consumer goods such as cotton, silk and woolen clothes, and capital goods like light machinery produced in the factories of Britain. More than half of trading was restricted to happen with Britain, while rest of it with few countries like China and Persia. Exports increased, but only of those raw materials that Britain needed in their industries. Certain commodities was needed for the survival were very badly less available in domestic market. The profits from these exports was of no use to any Indian. It was used to clear the payments for the expenses of office of colonial government, expenses on war that they fought, and also import of few services. Demographic transition, a reference to the population and its characteristics. First census was conducted in India in 1881. Before 1921, India was in the first stage of demographic transition. That is a situation wherein there is high birth rate as well as high death rate. The second stage is a situation wherein birth rate increases but death rate decreases. India was in this transitional phase from 1920 onwards. The literacy level, ability to read and write, was less than 16%, and female literacy level was at 7%. Mortality rate refers to death due to particular reason out of total alive people in a particular year. During colonial period, the mortality rate was very high owing to the unavailability of public health facilities, poverty and natural calamities. Infant mortality rate, that is the death of babies before celebrating their first birthday, was at 218 per thousand. It means out of every 1,000 births, 218 of them would expire within celebrating their first birthday. Life expectancy, the probability of an individual to be alive, was up to 44 years. That's it. Occupational structure. 70 to 75% of people worked in agricultural sector. 10% of them worked in manufacturing sector. 15 to 20% of them worked in service sector. Workforce in Madras Presidency, Bombay and Bengal had affinity towards employment in manufacturing sector, whereas in Orissa, Rajasthan and Punjab there was increase in workforce in agricultural sector. Infrastructure. Railways, ports, water transport, posts and telegraphs developed. The British introduced the railways in India in 1850. Electric telegraph was introduced. Postal services were started.